Bom, sejam todos bem-vindos. Obrigado aqui pela atenção de vocês. Deixa eu me apresentar rapidamente. Meu nome é Rodrigo Sendai. Eu atuei como o diretor executivo da Allia durante uns 2 anos e hoje eu sou parte do conselho consultivo da Allia. E eu estou aqui para apresentar para vocês, bem rapidinho, uma entrevista que a gente fez com 2 dos parceiros bem importantes aqui da Allia, né? Um deles é o José Del Pino, que ele é o CEO da Impax. Para quem não conhece, a Impax é uma rede também que agrupa vários distribuidores na Europa toda, praticamente. É uma rede que movimenta cerca de 2 bilhões de euros e eles distribuem, o modelo é meio diferente, o modelo da distribuição da Europa. Então, todas as grandes marcas, Diversey, Spartan, KC, todos esses produtos são distribuídos através da rede da Impax. E outro participante aqui é o representante da Network, um representante que cuida de todos os membros, pelo mesmo princípio. É uma rede também na América do Norte, que agrupa aí os distribuidores dos Estados Unidos e Canadá, e também um movimento de cerca de 12 bilhões de dólares anuais, movimentados a cada ano por essas redes. E aqui eles estão trazendo, né, a gente trouxe uma provocação para eles nesse momento de econômico bem desafiador, principalmente na Europa, que tem vários desafios logísticos, desafios de supply chain. Eles trazem esses impactos no mercado de higiene e limpeza, de quais são as ações que tanto a rede de distribuição quanto os fabricantes, que eles têm bastante contato, estão tomando lá na frente. Só uma coisa interessante, alguns aprendizados, né, a Allia, no início da pandemia, quando tudo era muito novidade para todo mundo, a gente manteve um contato muito forte com eles, porque não sei se vocês se lembram, tudo o que aconteceu no começo da pandemia, na pandemia na Europa, acontecia um pico, fechava tudo lá, aqui a gente ficava aberto, depois chegou aqui, e aí começou-se a falar álcool gel, começou-se a usar algumas soluções lá e depois começou para cá. Isso serviu de aprendizado muito grande para se preparar para o que vinha pela frente. É quase que um delay, né? Acontecia na Europa, acontecia nos Estados Unidos, a gente passava aquilo pelo Brasil depois. E um pouco do que eles falam isso é mais ou menos desse momento atual. Então, o que eles estão vendo nesse momento em relação ao mercado de trabalho, o que eles estão vendo em relação à relação comercial das empresas com os clientes, como os clientes estão funcionando agora aqui no Brasil. A gente está vendo questão de trabalho híbrido, remoto, meio a meio. Então, eles já estão um pouco mais adiantados nesse sentido e como as empresas estão reagindo nesse momento. Então, vamos passar esse vídeo bem rápido. Walt Defletzen e o José Del Pino da Impax. Olá, bem-vindos todos vocês ao nosso stand, o stand da Allia, nessa IG Expo 2022. E hoje a gente tem aqui convidados muito especiais. Eu estou aqui, eu vou apresentá-los para que vocês os conheçam. Eu estou com o José Del Pino, que é o CEO da Impax, que é o parceiro da Allia na Europa, essa rede enorme que conglomera aí prestadores e fornecedores, distribuidores de produtos de higiene e limpeza de diversos segmentos na Europa inteira. E eu estou também presente aqui junto com o Walt Defletzen, que ele é o nosso representante, líder de Membership Development, desenvolvimento de membros na Network, também muito parceiro de muitos anos da Allia, presente desde a fundação da Allia e nosso parceiro nos Estados Unidos, na América do Norte. So, hello, José, hello, Walt, welcome. We are really happy to have you here today. José is in Berlin right now, so in Germany. José, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Obrigado. Bom dia.
Bom dia. And Walt is talking to you from Chicago, right, Walt?
Yes, cloudy Chicago.
Okay.
Obrigado, Paul. Thank you for having me.
We are really happy to have you all here. So now we just want to talk. We want you to share with us things, your views, your experience that you are seeing in Europe and in US nowadays. So let's just start with the first question. So, and that would be, what permanent changes do you see in the professional hygiene and cleaning market now that we are coming out of the pandemic? So, Jose, if you want to start.
Well, I thank you very much for the question. The permanent changes is at this stage it's difficult to say because permanent we don't know what is going to be or to happen next. It's difficult to say permanent for the long time. I would just say like the current challenges into the clean and hygiene market in Europe is a certain awareness of the hygiene into the workplaces in the B2B market, hotels and lodging, restaurants, etc., that the people are becoming more aware of. So this is a challenging situation from a customer, a client perspective, in terms that they are more aware of the need to give a security place or a table or a room for their end clients, that to feel secure and hygienically protected when they are using their service.
Very good. And do you see that this, do you have the feeling that we are really out of the pandemic right now, or people are still in Europe, still upset about it?
Well, we thought at the beginning of the year that we were going out of the pandemic. The numbers in Europe, they're dramatically growing in the past weeks. So it's and this is just before one important season in Europe, which is the summer break, where the people they don't want to miss the major holidays. We are not. There is a lot of uncertainty what is going to happen right after the summer break. There is a certain expectations that the cases are going to raise up when the people are coming back from different regions where they are spending holidays. Absolutely not. I think that at the same time being saying that there is a certain negative view about the future of the pandemic that is going to stay with us. At the same time, it's like the people are, let's say, willing to recover their all normality lives after this almost 2 or a little bit more than 2 years.
Okay. And Walt, what about you? Do you see already some permanent changes in the US, in the market, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I believe that the 2 years and 2.5 years now of the pandemic activity in the United States has done more to make people aware, everybody aware of the need for better sanitation. So I think that, and certainly during the height of that, people were looking for everything to keep things more sanitary, hand sanitation, surface sanitation, things like that. So that did more to educate people than we've ever been able to do in decades. So I think that really planted seeds in people's minds. However, I do think it's clicked back a bit now. So, but I think the bar has been raised. I think it is permanently raised to a higher degree than it was 2.5 years ago. So I definitely believe that the sanitation is going to be much more in vogue. First of all, so many dispensers got placed that weren't places before, and people are going to continue to use those. They're not going to just walk away from that. So I do think it's raised. I think there's the permanent changes that are coming out of the pandemic, though, are really most significant is remote working. So in the U.S., there's so much of that, and I'm sure in the rest of the world as well. But so much of that has turned into, including at network, turned into either a 100% remote or some kind of hybrid of that. And so for our business, for how our business conducts its activity, we have to adapt to that. So network currently does a hybrid. We have 2 days that people can work remotely. The other 3 days they need to be in the office. But when you factor that to our business, we have 40% occupancy in the United States in office buildings, which is a big market for us. And that is likely not to come back to pre-pandemic levels in the near future, or maybe ever. So that's a difference maker for us. And then as far as how we the people in the United States, and I can't speak for all of them, obviously, can't have a hard time speaking for myself, but the pandemic, the people in the U.S. are done with the pandemic. We're done with it.
Um,
So, but
if I
the pandemic is not done with us.
no.
So now to try to get people to do the things they were doing 2 years ago, even when that was confrontational about wearing masks or doing things like that, or even being on a plane wearing a mask, that people will do that to their own self-interest. But the majority of people in the United States are pretty much done with the pandemic, even though there's another wave and a second, third, even fourth wave probably going to happen here.
Yes,
And
yes,
Jose, you want to have a question?
yeah. I think that it's we are not only present in Europe, but in Middle East, in Africa, and Australasia as well. So the trend that has been described by Walt are exactly the same. It doesn't matter the language, the background, the cultural background, the religion, is all over the places like this. The challenge. I mean, if you speak about this sanitation as the Americans will define that, we call it the hygienic products. I think that there is there. I think that the trend into the future is not to, let's say, to reduce the quality of the product, because during the pandemic in Europe, the production was not following the demand that it was outside there. So the legislation just reduced the bureaucratic work just to get some of those sanitations outside there, and then it appears, yeah, products that they are supposed to be sanitizing, but they were not at the sanitizing level that it was before. So the challenging situation right now is if the customer, because the situation is turning a little bit more positive, and they are very the market didn't recover the volumes as it was before, that they try through that cost reduction to go to products that are less accurate in the target that they are supposed to be used for, right? So like hand sanitations, disinfections, and all the stuff. And this is the awareness is raised, not at the level during the pandemic. It's much lower, but ahead of the pre-pandemic levels. And I
Yeah.
think that the market in the clean and hygiene segment has been, at least in Europe, on this part of the Atlantic coast, we had a clear awareness from the clean and hygiene market that what we call it personal protection, protective equipment as well, it plays an important role into the basket of products and solutions that our customers are looking for. So it's not being separated, it's now at one basket. So that's an important learning out of what we had in here in Europe.
Okay, very well. And Jose, Walt mentioned that in the US they have this trend for more hybrid work or remote. Do you see the same thing happening in Europe?
Yeah, Europeans are conservative by nature. So yes, for sure, the hybrid is the model that has been established. It doesn't matter which type of formula it is, if it is 1+4 or 2+3 or 3+2. It is something that it came here, but I would say that it's been driven as well by the lack of I would say the lack of employees, the human resources that the businesses are lacking in finding employees for that. So it has been a transfer from those sensible business to non-sensible business to the pandemic, and those human resources, they don't want to go back, because what if it happens again, right? So the attractiveness of the business is one key element now for the rare talent management that is outside there into the market. And one of the major topics that somebody is asking for when looking for a position in a new company is that they have the opportunity of the home office, not fully, but a big portion of, or like 50-50, 60-40, that is very well demanded. And as Walt just said, the BSCs and facility management companies or building service contractors, whatever you name it, is a big part of our business. So these have an influence into our business and the ones of our customers.
Very, very well. And Walt, you both mentioned that the awareness in terms of sanitizing, cleaning has improved. But when we focus exclusively in the professional cleaning activity, do you think it's also changed the way it is viewed after the pandemic, or in other terms, is this being more valued, or when we talk about professional cleaning, it has a more important role?
I do, and again, I'll go back to all of us have worked in this industry for a while, and as new developments came along about sanitation, hygiene, um, sometimes people aren't willing to change to a new way of doing things. But the pandemic and the seriousness of it and the worldwide nature of it made people look at things with a more open mind. So I still remember, I'm old enough to remember when you go into a restroom and see pull down cloth towels on a roll like that, a continuous roll, you wipe your hands on it. So it's one of the most unsanitary things that you could do, even hand air dryers. So all that stuff that people were trying to convince people that there were better ways of doing it, and usually having some resistance, didn't have as much resistance. And I think those things got placed. The Clorox has that electrostatic 360 system, and that just electronically attaches to surfaces and keeps them sanitized. Those things have all made headway, and hands-free is got to be done every place now. You don't have to convince anybody anymore about hands-free, touch-free kinds of systems. So I think that if you want to put a smile on having a worldwide pandemic, that'd be one of them, that people are more educated, more knowledgeable about things. So I do think that's an advancement that is going to benefit us all in the long run. I think Jose was saying something to the effect of, and maybe I didn't hear it exactly right, but the during the pandemic, the demand for some products became so severe that people were looking all over the place for stuff. So new suppliers, people that weren't making certain things, came into the market, and that didn't necessarily help because they weren't skilled at what they were doing. Whether it was hand sanitizer, soap, whatever that may be. But people were so desperate they were using it. I think that's going to fade away now, and the people who are substantial manufacturers of these brands, the stuff that really is sophisticated and works, are going to reestablish their position. So I do think it's a long answer to, I think people are much more open-minded, much more educated, much more concerned, because it's personal to them. It's not just the business that they work in, it's their own lives that they care about keeping. You don't want to go any place where there's not some hand sanitizer available for you to make sure that you keep your hands clean.
Good. And Jose, do you agree that these issues had a better impact in the professional cleaning perception from customers in Europe?
I can only agree with Walt. I mean, I think that he's a bibliotech talking in this business for sure. I mean, the awareness is outside there. The awareness of, as I said before, I think that the combination of clean and hygiene with sanitation or with this personal protective equipment stuff has been has been becoming a part of the life of our B2B customers. So the major point is how to give the security to their final clients, that they are using a service and a product that is secure. So this came obviously during the pandemic to incredible rates. The rates or the levels are not at the same position right now as during the pandemic. But for sure, they are much ahead of what it was pre-pandemic. And Walt just said a very important thing. I think that it's not about the awareness, but the people knows more about those products. I think that is essential that when a good or a service it came rare, like during the demand goes up dramatically, that they offer the offer is not at the same level, then it starts to appear like fake products and services. So I think that this is where our B2B customers, they rely on reliable partners, right? So people that they know what they are talking about, that they can really on the different sites bring that knowledge to expand it to their employees, to use it properly and in the right form. But for sure, yes, the awareness is up. It's much more up than 2019 levels, below during the pandemic, and it came to stay, like the hybrid model of working.
Very good. Okay, so let's for my last question, let's talk a little bit about supply chain. So we have now in this expo here people from different segments, chemicals, paper, and cleaning. Everybody is here. And how do you see the market in terms of supply chain? Do you see a product shortage, price increase, inflation, or you think things going back to the normality? What's your perception about it? Walt, do you want to start it with this?
Yeah, I would say it's nowhere near normal. I'm not sure I know what normal is anymore, but it's nowhere near normal. And I when I hear everybody say, supply chain issues, I don't think they're all the same. I think that many things are explained differently. So in some cases, it's what Jose was referring to. It's labor. With people working remote or having the ability to work remote, or even taking this pause for 2 years and kind of taking an evaluation of their lifestyle, people are more inclined to move to other jobs. And when you work remote, you're not as connected to your company. It's a good thing to do, but you're not as connected to the culture of your company when you're remote like that. And now you can move from one job to the other because it's what's on my screen that I'm dealing with. Today it's Impacts, tomorrow it's some other company, and you're still working in your home doing this job. So I think people are much more mobile in that regard, and it's good, but it also creates issues about getting things done. So on the supply chain stuff, our experience here in the United States is we've had a lot of disruption. We're dependent on a lot of import stuff, so that definitely got disrupted, both from getting the product from the resources overseas, especially, and then even getting them into the country, even if they're made, or even if they were sitting on a ship outside the country. We've had logger jams in every major port in the United States about unloading these kind of products. And over the years, we were getting into the just-in-time methodology of getting product. So that doesn't leave any flexibility to continue to, for emergencies or things like this that have happened. And then you throw in the fact that people shifted, if they were home, they were shifting where they were buying stuff. Instead of going into a restaurant, they were ordering takeout. So those customers that were buying products that were used inside the restaurant are now needing products that were going to be carry out stuff, and just the adjustment of that. And then I think one of the really impactful things here, at least in the U.S., has been so many people getting into online ordering of everything. Everything that they use in their house was delivered to the front door, so they didn't have to go to a store. So that increased the need for packaging. So packaging products are made by paper mills, the same paper mills that make towel and tissue. And so when those companies that had those kind of resources said, where should I dedicate? And a paper mill is a major thing to make a shift in. But when they decided that they were going to do something, they absolutely shifted, at least in the US, some products got shifted to the more demand cycle for packaging, corrugated, things like that, as opposed to the towel and tissue products that we are involved in. So it made an impact on the supply chain. And then even those folks that, again, I'll use the towel and tissue, made products that were probably didn't have as much throughput, as much volume as others. So instead of making some of those, they concentrated their efforts on the things that were key, center of the plate to them. So if you had this broad array of products, 30 products that you like, now that manufacturer maybe only had 18 of those that they were going to keep in the kind of stock that you needed. So I think there's a lot of that all adds to the supply chain thing. Our members didn't lack for demand, or network members, the distributors didn't lack for demands and new customers because customers are scrambling to get things, but they had to spend so much time resourcing and trying to. Their whole idea of being a sales organization got modified to ship into a sourcing organization. They spent so much of their time trying to source product and found new suppliers. I think it's all kind of getting back to what it was pre-pandemic, but it won't be a light switch thing. It won't happen overnight. It'll be a while before that gets back again. And I'll give my one plug here for the people that make up Impacts, the people that make up Allia as members, and the people that make up Network. The independent distributor was much better, much better at reacting to all these kind of crazy circumstances, all the things we've talked about: supply chain, remote working, labor issues, all the things we're talking about. The independent guys were much better at working through this than the corporate competitors that we deal with. That's my plug for today. Yeah.
Very good. And Jose, I believe you share the same feeling as Walt mentioned about this
I,
the supply chain pressures, right?
I don't know if I share it, but I love what he said because I would put it in other words, and I think that it will came out the same outcome. If I come back to and I think that the difficulty in so crazy and disruption times is not to be absorbed, but about what is going on. That you are not making crazy decisions, and then try just to keep the structured way of looking at the market. How can you be prepared in order to serve at the end of the day your B2B clients? And I think that the customer approach in here is very important. It's not about these customers of us, it's about the customer of our business to business customers, right? How can we help them in such disruption times to have the best service, the best products? So and I absolutely agree with all of this. We can take it the American flag out and put the German or the Italian or the Indian or the Australian flag, and it will be exactly the same issues. So supply chain disruptions, they were, especially about this, like the pandemic related items, as we call it in here during the pandemic. Once this has been solved and the demand and offer, they were equalized, then you have it into other product ranges, like where you need chips. No? Walt was just talking about the non-touchable dispensers, and they are there is a must to have them. So the ones that you touch, they are not the ones that you are going, or that our customers, they need it. So it has been a supply chain disruption. It has been an incredible labor force moving from the segments, the customer segments that affected very much or very sensible to the COVID circumstances and the lockdowns and everything, to others. And they don't want to return. So hybrid has become as well a demand from this labor force. So you needed to keep it. So this is reducing as well our business. And I think that the digitalization process within in our organizations, within the customers, is like you are not physically able to visit them. So you need to create e-commerce solutions, virtual meetings, how to transfer those very service-oriented items. No, when you go to dispensing systems in chemicals or whatever, it's difficult to transfer to somebody. No, especially in Europe, where we have so in a small piece of land, so many languages and cultures, etc. So that you really need to keep it simple. E-commerce has become a very important issue, and business intelligence. I think that the business of our different customers, it doesn't matter if it is within the same customer type or group. Not all the hotels, they have the same issues. Not all the hotels are in cities. They are as well in vacational or recreational sites. So you really need to adapt yourself. And this is coming to our main businesses in Europe. So we have a war across, within our borders, an invasion, and this makes things like inflation a big issue to deal with. No, so we are talking about the in the country where I live, where I'm now based. It was 50% dependent on the gas from Russia. Now it's much less, but it still is a big portion. So what if this is not there? That there is in the past days, they just shut down the pipelines, bringing the gas in here. We are lucky because we are at the moment in the summertime, so there is no much necessity to heat the buildings and the houses, etc. So we had this inflection going on out of the scarcity of the raw materials in the past, and this is going to continue. So, and exactly if you look at all the factors and you put our customers at the end, and the comment that, well, that independent distributors has become like or they did a great job or greater than other companies, that they need to report on a quarterly basis. I think it's the family-owned businesses, or let's say the independent part of the business. So we are part of the communities. We suffer when the communities are suffering. The beauty of distributors like Network and Impacts, for sure Allia, is the one-stop shop. So when there is this supply chain and these labor things, the customers are relying on, and I repeat, a reliable partner. So it is not a question of a brand. It's what is the best product and service that I need for my locations. And this is exactly where a distributor plays an important role, and is becoming greater, at least in this part of the planet, because being a one-stop shop, you have the offers from different, let's say, manufacturers or suppliers, as we call them, in order to being able to adapt quickly to the demands of the customers. Inflation is something that we cannot escape, and this is going to revert back very hardly, at least to the European market in the second half of the year. And I would love to forget the normality, because the normality is what we are living right now. So there is no old or new, there is the current normality, and those are the issues. So at the end of the day, with all those problems that you were mentioning, inflation, supply chain disruption, etc., and labor cost problems, I think that the distributor is playing a greater job in, let's say, fulfilling the demands of these two big customers.
Very interesting. Yes. So in other words, there is no normality. There is reality, which is the one we live in, right? So that's the reality.
That's it.
Very
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
So, just to close our little chat here today, could you please just leave a small message to our audience now, Walt? We are here with in the biggest fair in South America. Many people from many different companies and visitors from South America here also. Would like to leave a message to them just to close our chat here.
Well, I've been at this quite a while, as you can tell, but we had a meeting this week with our salespeople, and we were talking about all these problems, all these issues like that. So I like to talk about the problems, but I like to talk more about solutions, or the positive side of things. So I've reflected on this industry. So we're in this great industry that we sell a lot of products that people need. We don't sell some special thing that's going to go out of vogue. We're not selling some technology that's going to be replaced by something. We're selling products that make people healthier, that they need to live, that they need to conduct their business, they need in both their personal life and their business life. So we're fortunate that we're in an industry that just has all that broad base of use. We're in an industry that is not recession or economic proof, that nothing can go bad on it, but it's economic and recession resistant. People's use of these products is not dependent on the weather. It's not dependent on the political scene. It's a good thing that's not happening in the United States. And so it's got that generality to it that makes it a solid business. And to part of Jose's point, the independent distributor represents this whole market basket full of products and brands of products that they can be this one-stop shop, this resource for. You can't name a customer, whether it's hospitality, whether it's schools, whether it's a office building, whether it's a hospital. I just love this industry for that reason, and because it's still, and I think the pandemic has proved this, even though it's the personal touch for the inability to travel or interact with people directly changed during the pandemic, and we started doing more of these kinds of communications, the Zoom thing. Even with this, relationship stuff still matters. It still counts that you can convince the person that you're trying to help, that you're a resource for them, and that you care about what goes on with their business. So I over romanticize this because I love the whole industry. I do, and I just think that we are in a really good position. I think Impacts is just a classic example of what can be done with multiple countries, multiple languages, much more multiplicity than we have here in the United States. And watching Allia, how they've progressed in the years that they've been together, it's just amazing to me that that idea, that concept is basic to network, it's basic to Impacts, and it's basic to Allia. And that's cobbling together these disparate resources and making them more valuable to everybody, both to their customers and to themselves and to their suppliers. So, I have a very positive view about the industry and where we are. And I appreciate being on this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Walter. Appreciate as well. And Jose, your final comments to close
I knew
our
he was going
talk.
to get the last word.
I'm going to make an applause for Walt. I think that but it's true. This is the professional side of the market. I mean, you have normally the B2C and B2B, as we call it here in Europe. The B2B, even if it is from professionals or business to business, I think that this relationship, it plays an incredible role. And I would like just to point it out, not sure if this is going to be listened by suppliers or manufacturers, as we call them, by distributors or by customers. I would say to the three types of possible audience that will hear that is that the customers are the drivers of this market. So if there is not our customers outside there is not manufacturers and there is no distributors. So I think that they are the lead in the evolution, and what they need should be like the cornerstone in our future. And I fully share with Walt the point that this is a market that is proven against crisis. Everybody needs to carry on. And if you look at I'm an economist, so if you look at the history of the economy through the past years, we had big gaps with the crisis, with the First and the Second World War, etc. We always survive, and the curve goes always in the American trend up to the northeast. So this is going to be better with the time, but these customers, they need reliable partners, not the ones that at the first difficulty they are going to let you alone there. So you really, I think that the three components of manufacturers and distributors and clients, they need each other to understand their role within this market, but not for the short. This is more for the long term. So to give solutions, because this expo is in the South America. If I look at the manufacturers, I would say the personal opinion, if I look at the United States, a very well-developed market ahead of any others in our markets across the planet. In Europe, it happens the same. So I think that the cooperation with distributors is key. So I think that if you try to cancel that part in the equation, I think that you are making a big mistakes. It's not something that we invented, but it's something that it has been proven through the years that a strong manufacturer can only be successful by hand of a strong distributor, a reliable distributor. So I think that if I look, knowing the few things that I know about the South American market, I think that the direct model of manufacturers going to end users, I think it's not the proper way to settle a successful in the long term strategy. And if I look to the distributors, I would, and it's something that is happening as well in the US, but in Australia and in India and etc. I think that the independent distributors, I mean, the market is at different levels of polarization. So you have a very fragmented market in South America with distribution. I think that these days are over in the next short and mid-term, in terms that the market is getting globalized. So and you either need to invest or to join forces in whatever terms, in partnerships, in merge, in acquisitions, in order to become or to be able to offer the products our B2B markets, our customers are demanding. So, and I think that if I look back to impacts and to networks some years ago, I do see Allia at this point where I would like to be, because when we created this and in cooperation with Network, we had so much things to learn. But Allia is using as well that knowledge and this spirit, this entrepreneurial spirit of developing the market. And I didn't saw any groups or any company in our market in the distribution side being evolving so quickly and so professionally like Allia it is doing in Brazil. So all in all, is patient partnership with a reliable partner, and above of all is health for all of us. I think that's the most important thing.
All right. So thank you very much again. It was a pleasure having you both here. We are really honored that you shared your precious time with us today. I really appreciate, and also we're really happy to be part of this global network. We are all in exchanging learnings, information, and we really appreciate to have you here today. Eu agradeço também a todos presentes hoje aqui na convenção. Muito obrigado pelo tempo de vocês, e agradeço aqui comigo José Delpino e Walt Defletzen, Impax e Network, que estiveram aqui conosco. Muito obrigado para todos. Thank you very much. See you again.
É isso aí, gente. Obrigado pela atenção de vocês. Lembrando que às 5 da tarde a gente tem mais um papo com o Ricardo Vaccaro, que é o diretor executivo da RLGN. E nos vemos por aí. Obrigado para todos. Ótima tarde.